Hello and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk to you about something very important, and that is effective communication. We often, and this is less talked about, we often come across data which needs to be represented, which needs to be talked about, which needs to be communicated in some sort of a report or something, where we want to then analyze that data too. But it becomes important in such circumstances that the data is presented in a way that it eases up the analysis. The reader is able to understand that data. And there are many sources to look at good examples of this. I have set this up here at McKinsey website, and I can share this in the description of this video also. Now, here in this Insights store, you'll see a bunch of these reports. Just needs a Google sign in, and you can do that. And I've opened a couple of them up. Uh, the most recent one, released on October 23rd, is the next big arenas of competition. Arenas are industries that transform the business landscape. So let's dive right into one of them to get an idea of how firms like these would communicate effectively through visuals, right? Of course, there's text that supports all of it, but let's skim through it just a little bit to see and understand exactly how visuals are being used here. So you come across executive summaries and everything, but have a look at this. Have a look at this. 12 arenas of today exhibited outside shuffle rates and significant growths in share by market cap. Okay, yes, there is legend. You see that. You see x-axis, yes. And these are basic conventions that we see. X is labeled, but then there are these bubbles, the circles, that are in different sizes, right? So they are in different colors too. Arenas of today, industries of today. Those industries are then marked here. You see that the positive ones, which have a share growth rate, which is positive, are specifically mentioned. These are arenas of today, most of them. And then those other industries are left out. So in a way, you are able to, seek the attention of the reader into seeing, which of this data is important amongst all of these bubbles. So the focus is then on the arenas of today. And that is why these are marked, and then the others are left out. So there's a specific way which is unintentionally forcing the reader to focus on a very specific thing. So this is how you could present some visuals and seek attention of the reader in specific ways, or divert that attention to a specific place. Again, even in this visual, it's fairly straightforward. It's just a list of different services here, different industries, and all. But then the numbers are also being shown through these circles, and the size of these circles is adjusted accordingly. And that takes your attention right away. Yes, these numbers would suffice too, but then the size of these circles right away takes your attention to, okay, e-commerce, that's the dominant one right there, rather than having to read through all the numeric numbers out there also. So there's a visual element to it, then of course the numbers are there to supplement it. Now these are, and you could notice that these are, again, here too, I would, you look at all of these, there's no specific format, so to speak. You could see arrows coming up here and there. There are different types of charts and different types of different structures actually in play to represent things. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. This is something we've already looked into. And then sometimes it's as simple as this table that we see here. But then it's not just a normal table you would put in. There is some play, some effective, some conclusion that has been, some comparison that has been made at the bottom, at the end of it, where you, if you're putting up a table, you might hesitate doing these things, but it helps to come up and draw these arrows and stuff just to show the increase, how much growth is there. It's 9.2 times of it. So you could see these comparisons, which helps the reader to come to that conclusion rather than leaving the table right there at this last row with these total numbers. You're making it simplified for the reader to actually see on and exactly quantify, okay, this is a 9.2 times growth, right? Similarly, 4.2, and the comparison is for, yeah, this is the market cap and this is revenue. So you could see, you know, making things easy for the reader in something as simple as a table sometimes does the job, and it makes it simpler and easy to understand data. What I next want to take you to is this specific one, because this is something we come across very often. We come across these, pie charts, but these have been very nicely set up in a way, because the problem with these pie charts, what usually happens is you have some part here and then the next segment is added up there, and then it's hard to tell how much of it is there, right? But here they've done this smartly enough, because they've set up two pie charts for each of these categories, right? So for this blue band, it's 33%, you can see it. But then the other category doesn't really have to be here on the same pie chart. It's set up in a new pie chart. And then the numbers are set up in the center to quantify exactly how much is it. So there's a numeric comparison there, but then the size of this pie also is letting you see through that difference. But in cases where they sum up to 100, such as in this case, these percentages of these two sum up to 100, you're better off putting it up together in one pie chart. So smartly done here, but more importantly, um, remember these are very basic chart elements that we use. These are basic structures. Pie chart, the bar chart, even the bar chart here looks nice. Why? Because it's been done very smartly. Notice there are small, tiny elements which make it visually pleasing or understandable, so to speak. There's a comparison of 2019 and 2020, areas of today, arenas of today, the industries of today, and then the other industries that are less significant now, which have not seen enough growth. And there is a color comparison, of course, there, and we could see them not seeing growth at all, other industries in 2020, and that's fine. But then they are being compared to a different time zone back in 2005. So it's just these 2 years together, separated by a dotted line, but then a solid line segregates an older year just for comparison. Okay. That in, say, 20 years ago, these other industries were seeing a lot of growth, but not now. Okay. Not recently. And then the numbers are not fused into the bars or at the bottom, or because if you put these numbers at the bottom, it becomes difficult to show the negative growth ones, right? So where do you put it? You put one number up there and the other ones at the bottom. It disturbs the structure in some way. So then they've been put on top of these bars, right? So it's been handled, little things, but they've been technically handled to make the overall graph look decent, look pretty nice. Okay, so this is something that we want to do. This is something we want to do. We want to understand this, but then we want to apply this to another setting with very similar examples or very similar numbers. So let's go ahead and actually do this, right? Um, let's take numbers. Let's take two numbers. We are looking at a very specific example: floor one, floor two. We are talking about a 187 Memorial Hospital. I'll just put it up here. And then looking at these numbers. Okay. So floor one takes 9.1 seconds. Remember, what are we talking about? We're talking about cost per second. Okay. So consider this example. We're only looking at these two numbers. These 9.1, and this is in PKR, right? So this is a cost in seconds, a cost in PKR per second, 9.1 for floor one because this was already digitalized. Floor two, let's say this was using manual data entry, so it cost a lot more to make that data set up. So two hospital floors comparisons. Floor one takes less time for data entry, it's digitalized. Floor two takes more time for data entry, it's done manually. We want to represent this information, and would right away go to insert, walk into a bar chart. That's the normal or the straightforward way to do it. And Why not? But then having this information, having this bar chart communicating, it tells me the difference. Okay, fine. Floor one takes lesser time, lesser cost. Floor two is more expensive. It takes 26 rupees per second, and I understand that, and I can see that visually also. But then this is not so beautiful and aesthetic, and doesn't have that aesthetic uh, charm to it as a bar chart like this, maybe. Right? So this is what we want to do in this video. We want to set up basic information, but we want to do it aesthetically better. So for this setup, we're actually going to use this exact same format and see how we can do that in Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and take a screenshot actually of this. I'm going to put this screenshot on my Excel just for reference, so I don't have to go back and forth between the two windows, right? And see if I can make my chart look something like this. Okay. Now, of course, I'm only comparing for 1 year, or so I don't need to do these three separate bar charts. I'm only, so to speak, in 2024. So I'm happy with just this one, and that's fine. Might not even need to put the year. Fine with this, but we want to set up these charts and see how we can play along with certain elements of the charts. The first thing I notice is, we don't need these these grid lines, these horizontal, and these are called grid lines. I can click on them, and I can obviously change their color, shape, size, and not shape, but the width of them and their colors, etc. There are vertical grid lines also, but in this setting, I probably don't need it because I'm not going to read off their values from the vertical axis. I'm going to put the values on top of the bars like here, so I don't need them. So I'm going to go ahead and then delete them. Oh, that deleted my entire chart. Uh, okay, I'm going to try it one more time. Oh, I'm looking at these. Okay, yeah. So now I have these. It's a simple delete button, and make sure you're only, let's do it one more time. Make sure you're only selecting these specific grid lines, and then hit the delete button, and then they go away. Right? So that's pretty much it. But I also noticed a few other things. For example, I can see, it's probably unimportant, but helps at different times. The baseline is kind of black. By default, what I have the baseline here is, if you notice, kind of grayish. So might as well just do it black. But where are these options really? Most of the times you double click them, and you will see an options pane, and it's also here in format pane, right? So you should be able to see them, and this is where most of these options are, right? So when I hit this, I am in fact looking at the, and there are different options here that I can see: axis and text. We're not interested in the text, we're interested in the axis. This is why we are in axis options. We don't want to fill it. Just to show you, we could fill it, right? But we're not looking for a fill, we're looking for the line. Maybe it's a solid line, right? It's not automatic. And if I change its color, let me change it to orange just to show. Yeah, it does become orange, right? So I am looking for this to be black, and there it is. So now I've got at least something set up. The next idea that I want to do is put the numbers on top of the bars real quick, and this is something that I can easily see in my chart design as a chart element. Add chart element, data labels, outside end. So that's going to get me these numbers at the top of my bars. I'll fix their font and their sizes in a bit, but I don't need the vertical axis anymore, so I'll just delete it right away. And once again, I lose my chart. That's okay. Command Z or Control Z brings it back. I want to make sure I'm not selecting the entire chart, just this axis, and then I delete it, and it's gone. So that's pretty much about it as of now. And then obviously the colors are important, because the distinct colors make it easy to make that comparison. In my case, I probably don't need the legend, because the colors will, because I already have the floors at the bottom, and the colors will distinct them. um, Here they needed different years also. I don't need that, so I already have floor 1 and floor 2, and if they are in different colors, that would also work for me. So I probably would not need this legend. I'll just go ahead and have these colors. Nice, a simpler way to do these colors is just head over to this, and I'm gonna go ahead and solid fill. But I need a very specific color, which is this. I've already chosen it, done this before, but on a Mac, you might want to go to more colors and then use this dropper, choose that specific color, hit OK, and you should be good. Similarly for the other bar, more colors, dropper, and I'll pick this dark one and set it up. So there it is. That kind of does it. And we are all set on this, except for you might want to raise the font size on these and bold it. It is Aptos narrow body, and it's kind of almost the same font style. But I noticed one more thing, which is might as well increase this just a little bit, make it more readable with respect to the graph and everything. Okay, yeah. One more thing that I noticed is uh, the bars are stacked together pretty much. So notice there's a different thing. This the outer periphery is for the entire chart, but if I click somewhere here, I can play along with what happens within this chart. Okay, so I can move this around also, and that's perfectly fine. I can adjust its height and everything, but I do notice that these there's plenty of space between them, so there's a gap width that I need to play with. So you click on either of them, and that's fine, and you will head over to the series and you'll see this gap width, right? And by moving this around, I could actually bring them further and closer, right? That also changes the width of my uh, plots, but that's fine because I know I can always adjust it by closing down, or making these come close to adjust the spacing in between. One more time, format series after clicking on there, and then I would want to set them up like this. Okay, yeah. So I've got this pretty much set up, but this is not. I can see 26.1 and 9.1 floor 1, floor 2. But I also want to make sure I am communicating what this is all about. So it is the hospital, but this is cost per second, right? Uh, I would I would put things in the chart title, and that's nice. But then moving this around and playing around with the chart title often becomes a hazard, so to speak. Let me see. Let me show you what I mean. So Memorial Hospital, but then if I want to adjust this, or I can move this, but it's not as convenient as a text box might be, because say if I want to use another line to another one of this, could I copy this? No, I can't really copy this because I want to put cost per second in a different place. So then I would go ahead and use insert text and have a text box, really, right? And draw this text box. So this then gives me the liberty to actually place this text box quite literally anywhere, and I would get done with this chart title. I would not use this and have just this text box play along, and I can uh, first of all I would want its I'm just trying to see. Okay, yeah, the title is probably bold, but the currency and the metric or the variable is not bold, so we'll bold this up. Let's centralize, let's set it up, let's control B, let's bold it, and let's keep this here and make another copy, control C, control V, or right click, copy and paste, and set it up, unbold it, but explain what it says. Cost per second PKR, yeah, cost per second PKR. So that's what it is. But then it would be a good idea to kind of make it like this. Let's move our chart just a little bit below. Oh, that's a bit too much. Perhaps here. make sure we are somewhere in the centers to kind of adjust. Yeah, so I think this kind of, no, this ruins it. Yeah, so this is probably a one way to do this. And there it is, I believe. Probably not as nice as I was hoping it would turn out to be, but it's kind of simple in its sense, in a way. Oh, I see these are not exactly black. I'll go to text options, change the color to black. Yeah, that would, and also this I believe should be maybe not black, but some version of gray. Oh, that's a bit too much. Okay, I'll stick to this. Okay, floor one, floor two, 9.6 cost per second, 26.1 cost per second in PKR, and obviously floor 2 is more expensive than floor 1. The numbers tell you. So then this graphic is a visual. It is one example of how you could do it, how you could set up um, your plot, your graph, to communicate a basic information. I hope this made sense. We will make another one for the Windows version because picking up colors is slightly tricky for the Windows case. Yeah, excuse me. So in fact, let's just go ahead and do it for the Windows case. I might actually. Okay, yeah. So I have this access to the Windows computer. Um, the basics remain the same: 9.1, 26.1. This was my floor one. This was my floor two, and this is basically about it that I'm looking for to plot. Right, we're following the same example. Um, Actually, let's look at if anything's recommended here because you get these recommended charts also. Yeah, there are a bunch of options. I will stick to the bar chart, clustered column, and there it is. Now, everything else is pretty much the same as we saw in the Mac option. I'd want to delete this. I'd want to delete the horizontal grid lines, and also we'll get rid of this chart tile. That's fine. The tricky part here is picking up colors for this. Okay, so if you go to Google and you like write this down, McKinsey bar chart, you put up any chart or McKinsey or anything, you'll get these numbers, you'll get these charts and stuff. Just copy this image and go to PowerPoint. This is not Excel, this is PowerPoint. It's a different software. And go there and paste, paste your image. There's an option to paste the picture, so go ahead and paste that picture. So you'll have this picture right there. The good thing here is in the shape fill, you could go to the um, eyedropper and you could literally click on any one of them, right, in this color. Now when you go to more fill colors, that color would already have been chosen for you and you'll get the RGB numbers: 57, 168, and 242. So the eyedropper is not here in Excel, which is why you did all of this. So you go to colors. Again, it's the same thing. If you don't see these data series option or this pane, that's fine. You simply double click, you'll see this option. Now you don't want to go to the format data series. You're going to uh, this fill and line option and you're filling this right. So you can fill up different colors, but the one that we are looking for is a very specific color. So you go to more colors and then you plug in these RGB values. Okay, so what were the RGB values one more time? 57, 168, and 242. 57, 168, 242. Right, so this gives me that specific blue color. I will do this again for the other color and I'll also put these values in the description. uh, but let's just, because I we don't have the dropper in Excel, so we use the dropper from PowerPoint to get the RGB values. I'll just put the dropper here. You click the dropper and then you go to the shape fill again, more fill colors, and that dropper has picked that color for you because you dropped the color there, right? So 62845. This is my value, 628 and 45. Make sure I've selected this. More colors, 628 45, and I do this, and now I've got my colors right. Again, the bottom line is probably needs to be, this is a line, I'm in the line option, needs to be black, and there it is. I can see that I need the gap width to be reduced, maybe just a little bit more, because then I can play with the inner chart to bring them slightly together. Might as well just, yeah, I'm gonna put the title up top the same way I did on the Mac. But hey, I need the numbers on top of these bars. So again, add chart element, data labels, and on the windows, it as you hover over the option, the numbers notice are also being shown up where they are according to that option. We're choosing outside in, and I'm going to make it bold. Oh, I will fix the font because it was Aptos, right? Was it? I don't seem to have Aptos on this. Well, okay, I will stick with maybe Arial. Yeah, Arial's fine. But I need to change the color of this, right? So I will have a solid fill. Oh no, I'm not filling the entire box. I have to go to the text option to solid fill it to a complete black. Okay, now it is complete black. I might as well just do it for this also. Keep it complete black. That's fine, but the only thing left now is the um, text boxes, right? Where are my text? Yeah, there it is, the text box. Let's just set up a text box here and call it the 187 Memorial. There is a slight lag